Hi, it's Maggie the Irish Gypsy here to bring you your September 2018 general reading. Thank you for joining us here today. Welcome to any newcomers. Thank you for continuing to follow my YouTube channel and for all your likes and shares and subscribes. And a big thank you to all of my clients out there as well, both regular and new, for continuing to keep me so busy with personal one-on-one readings. And as most of you follow me know, if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, live or recorded, you can get more info and contact details by going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on that little About button, or clicking on the description bar of all the videos I post. You can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be delighted to work with you. I can usually get back to you within the same day or the first 24 hours of your initial contact. And scheduling a personal reading is pretty timely too, anywhere from a few days, depending on, scheduling and cancellations, upwards of a couple of weeks, but almost always within a 2-week period of time. We can set up a reading for you live or recorded. So if you're interested, send me an email. We will go from there. I do a wide variety of readings in all areas of life. Love and romance, compatibility charting, reconciliation spreads, career, work and finance, investment readings, focused messages from passed on loved ones. I also do 6 and 12-month overviews, which a lot of people like, which explore what's coming in all the main areas of your life over 6 or 12 months period of time, depending on how far ahead you want to look, as well as gift reading. So shoot me an email if you're interested. So let's move right into this reading. This is for the air sign of Libra for September 2018. These are general readings. They're always going to resonate a little differently for everybody watching. So for additional insight or clarification, if you know your rising and moon sign, watch those videos as well. Okay, Libra, let's see what September 2018 has in store for you. We begin with Strength, followed by the High Priestess. We have the 9 of Swords, followed by the 8 of Cups. We have the King of Wands, followed by the 9 of Pentacles. And at or towards the end of the month, we have the Ace of Pentacles and the 4 of Swords. From the bottom of the deck, representing overall energy, focus, and guidance, we have the 2 of Wands. Okay, Libra, it looks pretty clear that the majority of you are trying to perhaps make a decision about something. And what that something is, because this is general reading and there's thousands of you watching, what that something is may vary. I think for a lot of you, it's a relationship of some kind. Now, having said that, it doesn't necessarily mean love and romance relationship. Not everybody who watches these readings are interested in, that part of their life. Or they're not interested in relationship readings. I know it can be kind of frustrating for those of you who have no desire to watch a love and relationship reading to see so many of them. So what this leaving this something is, or considering leaving this something as a source of distress, I think for a lot of you is a relationship. Some of you that may be a love and romance relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Some of you it may be a relationship of a different kind. Could be familial, family. It could be friendship, like best friend, or just a friend. It could be a job, work, or career situation. But it looks like you're contemplating leaving it behind to start over again in a very maybe practical, tangible sort of way, because you're thinking about down the road. You're thinking about what you want long term and whether the path that you're on is actually leading towards what you want long term. Your overall energy is about long-term thinking and planning with the 2 of Wands. This is fire energy. That's the element which governs the suit of Wands. And this energy is all about building things and looking forward into the future, building things towards the future. It's very action-oriented energy. The 2 of Wands represents being at a crossroads and trying to figure out where to go. Do I go left? Do I go right? This man is at a crossroads and he's pausing to look. Which way do I want to go? And making the right decision or the best decision, taking the path that's best, needs to be based more on not what's in the current environment. I mean, that's a consideration and a factor, but it's about looking down the road long term. If this is about relationships, for instance, and you're trying to make a particular decision in your relationship life, what's your long-term goals? What kind of a relationship do you want? What kind of a person do you want to be with? I mean, if you want to be married and have kids and or have a home and family with someone, you don't invest in or continue to invest in or start investing in a relationship with someone who doesn't want the same goals. If this is job, work, career part of your life, or even in the spirituality part of your life, what do you want long term? Where do you envision yourself being a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? If the path that you're currently in, if the job or career path that you're currently in, if your spirituality path that you're currently in isn't leading you there or moving you closer to your long-term goals, then it's time to re-examine where you're going, or perhaps even what your long-term goals are. So that's the overall focus and energy of the month of September 2018, and the advice as well. Now, towards the end of August, beginning of September, we have Strength and the High Priestess. So strong, profound energy as we end August and begin September with Strength and the High Priestess, because they're both major arcana cards, which is significant, profound, divine energy. Strength is about, this kind of strength is about facing your fears, your doubts, your insecurities, maybe parts of yourself that you don't like, or facing truths or realities that previously you didn't want to really look at head on. It's about facing those, walking into what you're afraid of, or perhaps what you don't like, and having the courage, the bravery, and the humility to look at something head on, walk through it, face your fears, confront them, and move through it. And it speaks of the strength and wisdom and insight you get, that it takes not only to go through this process, but that you get an increased amount of by going through it and finding yourself on the other side, head held high, in motion, facing your fear, facing your future, moving into that future, having tamed what this lion, this wild beast represents. This is Leo energy, you know, what this wild beast represents, which could be fears, doubts, or insecurities, or aspects of yourself, or a combination of both, because I feel like you're thinking about leaving something, but that you have fears about it, doubts, insecurities about it. And you're being asked to have an eye on your long-term vision in making the decision, and to face whatever you're afraid of, and to trust your instincts and your intuition in doing this, because Strength is clarified by the High Priestess, which as advice is about trusting in your intuition, because that's what the High Priestess does. She is really well connected to the source of her source. God, spirit, angels, and guides. When the High Priestess comes up, it's always about paying attention to, any flashes of insight or intuition. Intuition is our connection to the divine. It's a conduit, a cable, if you will, through which we get, we start thinking about something, or maybe doing something, or thinking about doing something, and it's there for a reason. It's messages trying to get through. It's about paying attention to anything that comes up in your dreams as well, following your instincts and your intuition, or perhaps even a spiritual advisor, mentor, spiritual father, spiritual mother as well, and perhaps that following, trusting in whatever your intuition you feel is guiding you, trusting, facing your fears and your doubts, your insecurities, and trusting in that feeling that you want to do something, that you're being led somewhere, because it's about your long-term goals and visions. What do you really want? But I feel like there's a lot of stress about this. You have a lot of stress about perhaps walking away from something, leaving something or someone or a situation, or a combination of those behind you. A lot of stress, anxiety, and worry, but too much. It's at a level that's unnecessary. Because next we have the Nine of Swords, followed by the Eight of Cups. So the Nine of Swords, I always say when this card comes up, I never like seeing this card for anybody when it comes up, because it represents an extreme level of stress, anxiety, worry. It's probably, the moon has risen quite high in the sky, so it's probably, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody else is probably sawing logs except for her. Why? She can't sleep. She's her thoughts are going around and around, circular thinking, focused, worried, obsessed, dwelling on this, whatever the source of the fears, the insecurities, the doubts are, until they become so big in your head that they actually don't match the reality of the actual situation. That's what the Nine of Swords represents. The energy is somewhat illusionary, meaning the source of your fear and doubt and insecurity might be quite valid if you're wanting to leave a long-term relationship or situation or job or a geographical place. Some of the fears and doubts you have or concerns you have might be real and valid. But the Nine of Swords represents dwelling on them to an extreme, that you build it up to be this enormous, horrible, terrifying thing in your head, and it doesn't actually fit the reality of the situation. It's not that bad. Usually I see the Nine of Swords comes up when someone's in fear of the future, as my kids used to call it, future tripping. What if this happens? What if this doesn't happen? And what am I going to do if? Writing the script, pre-writing the script for a future which hasn't even unfolded yet, and it's all bad. So way too much. Cut back on this. You don't need to have this level of anxiety and insomnia and all of that. In fact, the little owl on the windowsill here represents that. In a tarot card, I mean, you could spend 30 hours on one tarot card. Everything on a tarot card is representative and symbolic of something. You see the little owl sitting on the windowsill here, very close to this woman. She could practically reach out and touch it. Owls are one of those universal symbols of wisdom, enlightenment, illumination, and answer. Remember in the Winnie the Pooh stories, whenever they didn't know anything or needed an answer to something, they always went to wise old Mr. Owl because he always had the answers. Even if he didn't, he did anyway. So that represents that there's maybe some insight, wisdom, solution, peace right there very close to her, but she can't see it because she's totally consumed with pre-writing the script to a horrible future, which hasn't even unfolded yet. So cut back on this energy, Libra. It's unnecessary. It doesn't actually fit the reality of the situation. And what clarifies this? What is it? What clarifies it? What's it about? Well, it's about leaving something behind, potentially, possibly, because what clarifies the Nine of Swords is the Eight of Cups. Cups is water energy. That's the element which governs the suit, and it's about the watery world of emotions, feelings, relationships. The Eight of Cups is about definitively turning your back on something and leaving it behind because it represents disappointment, disillusionment. It's done. It's over. Some of these cups are tipped over and spilled out, and some of them are upright and full. The implication being that he's tasted, or she has tasted and drunk from most, if not all, of these cups, and at the end of it, it's not what he wanted, or it's turned out differently than what he or she thought it was going to be. So he has made up his mind definitively to leave it behind, to turn his back on it. He's dressed for travel. He has his hat on, his cloak on, his walking staff in his hand. You may not be entirely sure of the direction you're going in, because he's still surveying the horizon, but he has turned his back on what has been disappointing and disillusioning. So this is what clarifies this, high stress, oh my God, it's all bad kind of card or energy. So Libra, remember this, particularly around the second week or so, if you find yourself like getting into this obsessive circular thinking mode where, well, if I leave, what if this happens? And what if this doesn't happen? And if I stay, what if this happens? And what if this doesn't happen? Until it gets built up in your head that doesn't even fit the reality of the situation. And it keeps you static. It keeps you paralyzed in a situation where you may actually need to move on in order to achieve whatever your long-term goals are, or not. I mean, it's a contemplative month. You're being called to follow your instincts and your intuition, follow where you're being led. You may be thinking about the future multiple ways, multiple times over the course of this month for a reason. Whatever your fears and doubts and insecurities are, whether you make the decision to leave or not, Spirit is asking you to face those and walk through those. You're not alone. You're totally supported every step of the way. Now, next to that, we have the King of Wands, followed by the Nine of Pentacles. So the King of Wands, more fire energy here with Wands. This is Leo, Aries, Sagittarius energy, Sun, Moon, or Rising. It's showing up as a king, but it could be a female as well. Kings and queens represent individuals who have reached the mastery of their suit. So they've grown and matured and evolved and learned and developed beyond the young, immature energy of the page, the spontaneous, impulsive energy of the night, and now they're king and queen. So they're balanced, they're mature, they've evolved, ideally anyway. We all have our bad days, right? So this is the King of Wands, is fire energy, because fire governs the element of wands. So this could be a man or woman for some of you. It could be an individual who's manifesting like the King of Wands, somebody who's older, they're on top of their game, they're very energetic, dynamic, influential, sexy, charismatic, they're good problem solvers, leaders, delegators. On a bad day, they can be, prone to fits of temper, anger, hot-headedness, because they're driven by the element of fire. So this could be somebody who is a fire sign or manifesting like a fire sign who is significant in this. For some of you, it may be someone that you're considering leaving or walking away from, or to. It could be in a relationship situation. It could be somebody in a job, work, career situation, a boss, or either on the positive or the negative side of that. What clarifies the King of Wands is the Nine of Pentacles, which is a card of independence, self-sufficiency, self-empowerment. It's sometimes referred to as the happy, single, successful female or male card. This is the successful bachelor or bachelorette. Although I don't always feel like it needs to be single, but she or he is at a really good place in their life. They've worked very hard to enjoy what is surrounding them. Nobody's handed anything to them on a silver platter. They've worked very hard with their own resources, their own sweat, blood, and tears to get to where they're at, which is where they're currently enjoying it. If she or he is single and wants to be with somebody, they'll take their time because they're not driven out of a sense of compulsory need. They're able to take care of themselves just fine. So it's a card of independence, self-sufficiency, and self-empowerment. Pentacles is earth energy. So in the practical earth energy, financial, material, job sense of the word, very independent, able to take care of themselves. And it's what clarifies the King of Wands. And this could be a few different things, Libra. It could be, again, a person that you're considering leaving because you want to gain this sense of independence, self-sufficiency, and self-empowerment on your own. And maybe that's where some of your fears and doubts and insecurities are, that you want to, but you're afraid you can't do it on your own or by yourself. You're afraid to leave for some reason. It could be that you're contemplating walking away from this person because they are too independent and can't give you the kind of relationship or closeness or interactive relationship energy that you want with them. But I feel like for most of you, it's walking away from what that person represents, the relationship, whether it's love and romance or something in job, work, and career, because you really want this sense of independence. And it's right next to the Eight of Cups, leaving something behind, walking away from that and towards independence and self-sufficiency, of wanting to know that you can do it on your own, even if you're afraid that you can't. Now at or towards the end of the month, again, because you're looking down the road, overall energy, remember that Two of Wands, long-term thinking. So at or towards the end of September 2018, Libra, we have the Ace of Pentacles and the Four of Swords. So more earth energy, more practical, tangible energy here. Now, aces represent the number one. So they always represent a new beginning, a new start, or the opportunity for starting something new or at the beginning of a new path. And this is a practical new beginning because Pentacles is earth energy, money, finances, property, real estate, assets, or the tangible part of our lives, efforts that we put into the tangible, practical areas of our life. So the Ace of Pentacles is a tangible, practical new beginning. The opportunity to have a new beginning or to start over again in a pretty practical way. Ace of Pentacles, I often see come up for moving, relocating, starting a new job, receiving an unexpected sum of money or resources in order to start to have a new beginning in a practical way. It's sitting next to the King of Wands, so he might be connected with that new beginning in some way or providing that new beginning in some way, helping you start on a path at the beginning here that will lead to this independent, self-sufficient energy. What clarifies the Ace of Pentacles is the Four of Swords. Swords is air energy. That's the element which governs this suit. And in the tarot, this is energy about what goes up in our heads. It's mental, intellectual, cerebral energy. It's all about what we believe, our belief systems, how we think, what our perspectives and perceptions are, because that directly affects how we see, relate, and communicate with the world outside of ourselves and the people in that world. The Four of Swords is a card about taking a step back, rest, respite, restoration, getting a different perspective, withdrawing from whatever this current conflict, challenge, or worry is temporarily. Temporarily because this man is a soldier. He's still dressed for battle. He's taken off his helmet and his hand gauntlets in order to rest. These swords pointed down at him represent whatever the challenge or issue is. His own sword is by his hand, but for the time being, he's not engaged. He's taking a step back. He's withdrawing temporarily to rest. Sometimes this card comes up when someone's feeling tired, overwhelmed, exhausted, don't know what to do. Take a step back, rest, which helps you to get a different perspective, some insight, particularly with your thoughts. And it clarifies this Ace of Pentacles, this tangible, practical new beginning. So I feel like it's more contemplative energy this month, Libra, meaning that I feel like the majority of this month is spent contemplating or thinking about what decision to make. It's clear that whatever area of your life this is pointing at, because it's going to be different in general readings for everybody, because there's so many of you watching, but it's clear that you're thinking down the road. What do I want long term in this area of my life? Is where I'm at and the path I'm currently on realistically getting me there or getting me closer to that? If not, do I need to leave it? What are my fears and doubts and insecurities? How do I face those? How do I move through that? How do I move towards this place of independence and self-sufficiency and feeling really good about who I am and what I am and where I'm going? And at the end of the month, you may be moving, relocating, starting a new job, taking some time out to do that. Or you may be taking some time out and taking a step back in order to contemplate this practical new beginning. Some of you may be making the decision to leave someone or a situation in some form at the end of the month because you've had it, you're tired, you're overwhelmed, you're exhausted, it's time for you to start over again. Some of you may not be making this decision until October. But it's a wonderful reading. I feel like you're in a transitional phase, and the decision you make is going to decide in a significant way what the next portion of your life is going to be like. The only real cautionary advice, think long term. When it comes to whether or not to make your decisions, think long term. If what you want ultimately, if you're not on the path, a path that's going to take you there, then you need to make changes to that path or leave that path to have a new path. There's fears and doubts and insecurities. Trust your intuition. You're not alone. You can face whatever those are. Remember, this is too much stress, anxiety, and worry. Cut back on that. Okay, Libra, so that pretty much wraps up your September 2018 general reading. I hope you found it useful or somewhat helpful, because that's why we do these. Again, if any of you are interested in a personal one-on-one reading with me, you can email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. I'd be most happy to work with you and set up a reading live or record it as quickly as we can. You can get more information and contact details by clicking on the description bar of all the videos I post, or going to my YouTube channel's homepage and clicking on the little About button. My hair looks particularly Medusa-like today. I hope it doesn't start hissing the next video. Very frizzy. It's all humid today. Anyway, Libra, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back here again in 2 weeks when I put out the September 2018 mid-month readings. Until then, as always, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Take care, Libra, and I hope to see you back here again soon. Bye-bye.